Welcome to Stillwater Edge, the ultimate podcast for stillwater fly fishing enthusiasts. I'm your host, Greg Keenan, and in each short, action-packed episode, I'll share expert tips, essential techniques, and clever tricks to help you elevate your stillwater fly fishing game to the next level. Welcome to the Stillwater Edge podcast. I am your host, Greg Keenan, and today we have a great subject for you guys. Today we're going to talk about one of the deadliest flies that you can have in your fly box, the Balanced Leech. So whether you're a seasoned stillwater angler or you're just getting into the game, this pattern is a must know. So let's break down why it works, when to use it, and how to fish it effectively. All right, let's jump to it, guys. This is a great topic, the Balanced Leech. I am pro Balanced Leech. Everyone knows that. I always talk about it. So the question is why the Balanced Leech works so well. Well, I have three reasons that I came up with when I was writing this episode. And number one is the suspended presentation. So unlike standard leeches where the head will sink down or point up depending on where you have it. So if it's a bead, it'll pull down. If it's just the hook shank, it'll go up, and it just doesn't look, it'll be sitting vertically in the water, which doesn't look natural. So the Balanced Leech, this fly is balanced to sit, and that's why I have this pen, sit horizontally in the water, column, imitating a natural swimming leeches. Leeches swim like this in a lake, not like this, for those that are watching on the video. That's why this fly works so well. It increases your presentation to the fish 100%. To making it the right presentation. The horizontal profile makes this a more realistic target for cruising trout. I'm going to say that again. The horizontal profile makes this a realistic target for cruising trout. That's the number one reason why, when I was coming up with this, why I like the Balanced Leech. And that's just because of the suspension, because it sits like this. A few other reasons why is the subtle lifelike movements. So, the materials that make it, this fly looks natural in the water when it moves up and down. Especially when it's under an indicator and the water and the waves and the wind are kind of pushing that leech and making it dance naturally under the water, which gives it a great motion, right? So the wind and the slight rod movements as well, if you give it a little twitch every now and then, that action creates, real life action, which is an attractant or a stimulant for that trout as well. So another reason why I really, really, really like this, and this is another more important reason, is the versatility across seasons. So a Balanced Leech can be fished in spring, summer, fall, and winter, all 4 seasons. It is a great effective fly. So it works especially well when the trout are feeding on leeches, so that early spring and late fall, and even in the winter. Those are key points to fish that fly in that pattern. Absolutely. So it's also deadly in the summer if you want to suspend a Balanced Leech in that deeper water and just hang on, on a technique that I call the dangle. It's, again, a incredibly effective fly for that, without a doubt. So when to fish the Balanced Leech. So here's some 4 prime times, in my opinion. So number one, with my favorite time to fish a Balanced Leech is in that cold water periods, spring and fall. Trout actively hunt leeches and prefer slow-moving food sources. So fish under an indicator near drop-offs in shallow bays is as slow as you can get, right? For that presentation. So the trout will just hit it. And I'm going to tell you a true story. I was fishing last fall, one of my last fishes of 2024, and I was at a lake with my buddy, and he was in his boat, I was in my boat, and I had a black Balanced Leech on, and it was just lights out, cast after cast, and it was just the most subtle takes, just like a little twitch, or my indicator would move just slightly, like half an inch to an inch, and I would lift up, and it was a trout every time. My colleague that I was with would ask me, what am I doing? And I had to explain, and I even gave him my position after catching so many trout. I said, just come here, here's how you do it. And that is just crazy how it works, because the trout were just zoned in on leeches. They were just trying to fatten up for the winter. So that's a crucial time to fish that fly and make it work for you as an angler. Super successful, especially in still waters. All right, so another time to fish that fly when it can be incredibly successful is during the midday lulls. I hate midday lulls when we're fishing. It's a challenging time. It can be difficult. It's a time when a lot of people just, kind of give up or they're frustrated. But to know that you have that option of fishing this fly, and it's a great option, again, is under an indicator, slow hand twist if you want to keep your mind occupied and keep busy, or if you have clients with you, cast and slow hand twist. Those are all great times to keep busy during that midday lull. We all experience it. It's just a natural part of still waters. But again, it's that time where this fly, and that presentation can be incredibly successful as well. So another time is this is key to me in the summer, is that deep water suspension, right? So that deep water. So if you're fishing in that 20 plus feet and you hang a balance leech under an indicator if you want, right? If it'll reach to where the trout are. Or another technique called the dangle is great. And if you can hit that bottom and just kind of hold on and just wait, it is fun. It's lights out fun. The big fish are cruising. It's an easy meal. The big trout will just take it naturally. And that's another great time, is that deep water in the summer, right? Another time that I personally love to fish, not just a balance leech, but any kind of leech, is after a cold front or a pressure change. So the trout, they kind of get sluggish or static or ultra slow. And the leech is often going to key in and trigger bites for those trout. I hate it when like weather comes through and just shuts down a perfectly good, Stillwater week. It's been good. And it always seems like the time that you're going to go out, a weather front has come through and has shut everything down. So this is a great time to pull out the balanced leech. It's a great time to pull out a leech period, but we're talking about a balanced leech, and that is a key time. So if you can do that, again, there's a variety of methods that I'm going to talk about how we can fish it. So here's some tips that I want to give you guys. Some tips on how to fish the balanced leech successfully that I personally use. So number one, like I mentioned, is under an indicator. You can't go wrong fishing a balanced leech under an indicator. It's incredibly fun. It's easy for clients, easy for kids, easy for beginners, right? It's the wind and the natural movement of the lake actually gives that fly the movement. You can also give your rod a little twitch for those that can watch on the video here, a little twitch again, just to add more movement. You don't need to overdo it. It just works, right? Just watch that indicator, the slightest movement. I guarantee it's a fish, because it's not hitting. As long as it's not hitting bottom, it's a fish. So keep that in mind. Another time to fish it, like I mentioned earlier, which is really cool, is on a hover or a sink line for deep water. So a sink line lets you get to the deeper zones without the indicator. So that's that dangle. So this is the boat, your rod's literally sticking out and the line goes whoop straight down. You have about 4 feet of leader on there. And that's it. Just hold on. That rod's just going to bend and go right under the boat. And I'm going to do a whole show about the dangle in itself, because that is worth it. And it is a method in Stillwater. Absolutely killer. And it works well for this pattern. This pattern does incredibly well in using that dangle methods. If you're going to do that casting, that deep water, and then short strip back, which is another effective method when the trout are deep. And when you're doing that, just make sure that your line's down there and you're counting that down and you're effective, and that your line's actually on the bottom, that you're not mid-water column. You know what, guys? There's so much to say about a balanced leech, and it is a great fly, and you absolutely must have that in your box is one thing. But before you go, I got a few quick recap tips for success. I got 3 tips for success. Number one is making sure you use the right leader setup. So for an indicator rig, you want to have a leader with a fluorocarbon tippet. Again, that's going to provide extra stealth and strength, because they pull that fly really hard when you get it. Your retrieve methods, if you're going to be doing the cast and retrieve, have a bit of a longer leader with again your floating lines or your sinking lines. That is key as well, having that leader set up correctly. And don't forget to adjust your depth if you are fishing on the indicator and you're just not getting anything. Just start adjusting your depth in increments of 6 to 12 inches, really. That'll help you as well. Number 2 is match the hatch. So if you're fishing and you see black leeches in the lake, fish black balanced leeches. So I'm going to give you some tips. So in clear water, I would use black, brown, and olive, or burgundy. Brighter colors, red, purple, and white in stained water. That is some tips that I wanted to give you for matching the hatch. But again, if you're in a lake and you see black leeches, fish black leeches. That is like as basic as it gets. The third thing that I want to talk to you about with balanced leeches is it's kind of important, it's called be patient. So actually let the fly sit under the indicator and let it sit there and do its thing. And sometimes these long pauses, they take a while, but man, they can be so rewarding. So having a balanced leech out and stripping a balanced leech, if you're going to fish 2 rods, is a great option. So 1 rod's floating line indicator, balanced leech is out, and that leech is at the front of your boat doing something, or it's doing the dangle. And then the other one, you could be casting and stripping to keep yourself busy, which I do often. And you'd be surprised, the static presentation almost always outperforms the movement. Almost always. issues. So that's something just to think about as well, because especially on those slower days or during that midday lull. So that's something that I want you to think about. Again, it's up in your game. So, all right, guys, you know what? The Balanced Leech is a proven producer, whether you're fishing under an indicator or a slow retrieve or suspended in deep water. If you're struggling to get bites, tie one on, fish it with confidence. It just works. You know what, guys? Give these techniques a shot on your next trip. Let me know how they work for you. Reach out to me on social media at Stillwater Edge. I want to know exactly how this worked for you. I want to know your favorite patterns, your go-tos, all that sort of stuff. If you found this episode helpful, please tell your buddies. I'm trying to grow this show. I'm trying to grow this Stillwater Edge because we got lots of stuff coming down for the pipe for you guys. So I'm reaching out to you. I'm asking you. This is show number 29 I've done here, and I want to grow it to a real big Stillwater community, and that's kind of my focus. So again, if you could share this video, that would be great. Like it, anything to get it more traction, that'd be great. So as always, tight lines, and I will see you guys on the water.